This conference will now be recorded.
Hi, I'm Coralee Holm. I'm the Director of Community Engagement and Innovation for the City of South Burlington, and I'm here today with Martha Lyons from our Tax and Assessing Department, and we're going to speak a little bit about the reappraisal process that's been going on in the city, and Martha's going to answer some questions that we have been getting from residents in the city. So good morning, Martha, and thanks for being here, and I'm going to let you get started.
Okay, good morning and hi everybody. Thanks for checking this website out. For the past 2 years, the city has been conducting a citywide reappraisal. What exactly does this mean? A citywide reappraisal is a mass appraisal. And unlike a fee appraisal, which focuses on just one particular property, a mass appraisal looks to find the average cost per square foot for properties that are similar. And it would be a reasonable assumption that this value would be in the ballpark for what that property would sell for. So that's just a quick overview of what we're doing. And what the city is doing is a mass appraisal. So if somebody has recently just refinanced, what the bank says your property is worth may not exactly match what the mass appraisal says. And that's okay as long as it's in the ballpark. So now I'll just open it up for Coralee to ask me some of the questions and we'll see if we can get everything taken care of.
Great, thanks, Martha. So first, let's start with why did the city do this reappraisal? Weren't things fine before?
Well, things were fine, but the way that the state now does things with the education fund is they try to look for the CLA, which is the common level of assessment, and they try to have it at 100%. And to keep things fair across the whole state, once a city or a town CLA drops below, I believe it's 80%, it triggers a reappraisal to be done. And the city of South Burlington fell within that. So that's why we started doing the reappraisal.
Great. So we know that the appraised values are going to be going out in April. And I'd like to know, when will the new appraised values be effective, and will they be used for our next tax bills?
Yes, they will be used for our next tax bills. The reappraisal values will be used for the 2021-2022 tax year. So with that being said, please do not wait until you get your new tax bill to decide if you need to grieve your assessed value. You cannot grieve your taxes. That's something that we as registered voters here in the city voted on the budget, and that has passed. So your assessed value is something different. So when you get your notice in the middle to the end of April, that is when you would need to grieve.
Great. So here's a good question. My house isn't worth that much. What's being said on the appraisal? I haven't done any updates compared to my neighbors and what they've done, and so why are our values similar?
Okay, with mass appraisal, the company that we hired did go out and they did measure the square footage of every property, and its outside measurements is what we use. And within a property, especially with condos, if you have a kitchen counter and yours is laminate and your neighbor uses granite, that's not necessarily going to change your value because you have a countertop and it's going to hold the dishes, just like if you have cabinets, as long as it still holds your dishes, your cabinets work. In a single family house, there may be some differences with upgrades, but again, it's not necessarily going to be a huge change in value.
Okay, I get that. But what counts as square footage? My house is 1,100 square feet. I have an unfinished basement, but my neighbors have finished basements. So how does that affect the value?
Well, with values, there's above grade and below grade. Above grade is everything that's above the basement or above ground level. And that 1,100 square feet is given an average cost per square foot. An unfinished basement has a value to it, where more value comes in as if the basement is finished. And on the property record card, it will have basement and it'll either say unfinished and a value in the amount of square feet, or if there's finished, it'll show up under basement finished with the amount of square feet and a value for it, which is then added with your above grade.
Gotcha, gotcha. What if I just refinance my home and the appraisal that I got from the bank doesn't match what I'm getting for an appraisal from the city?
Okay, well, that comes back to when you refinance, that is considered a fee appraisal. And what that appraiser is looking at, they're just concentrating on your house and what they think it's worth. With the mass appraisal, we are looking at similar properties and coming up with an average cost per square foot and making the assumption that if you take the average cost per square foot and multiply it by your square feet, that's what your value is. And reasonably, that's the ballpark that you could sell your property for.
Okay, fantastic. So if my house value has gone up 25% from the last time I had an appraisal, the current value, does that mean my taxes are going to go up 25%?
No, it doesn't, because it's not just your property that's going up in value, it's all across the city. It's the commercial, the residences, everything. All the values are going up. There may be some that go down based upon where they were before, but in general, property values have increased. The city, the voters approved for this upcoming year, approximately $17 million to be raised by property taxes. What that means is I will look at what the total grand list is with all properties, and then that's how I figure out the tax rate. It's not done on an individual basis. So based upon the total grand list of values, what rate do I need to raise $17 million to fulfill the voter approved budget? And that's how the tax rate is figured out.
Okay, great. So let's move on to, I've received my appraisal in the mail. Can you talk a little bit about if I disagree with my appraisal? I get it if I get it and I sort of agree and I say, yeah, okay, this seems accurate. But if I disagree, what's the timeline that I have to grieve that? And can you talk about the grievance process and how people can move forward if they disagree with their appraised value?
Yes. First, I want to start off by saying if you think the value that's your new value is a reasonable value for your property, you do not need to do anything. You're done. That's just what your value would be. If you disagree or you find an issue on your property record card for incorrect square footage or something, you will want to contact to set up a grievance hearing. By state statute, there is a 14-day period from the date that the notices are mailed that you need to notify the city. There will be phone numbers, and also I'm not sure if there's going to be a place to log in to do something virtually over the computer, but I do know you'll be able to call a number. You may even have something that happens right then where you go through and discuss what issues you have. That's step one of the grievance process. Once you notify the city, you're in the process. Once you've gone through and stated your case and you've talked to somebody about your property, you will then receive a result of grievance. On that notice, it'll be, here's what your value was, here's what the new value is. If you agree with it, you don't have to do anything. If you still disagree with that amount, then you move on to step two, which you will have a certain timeline, which will be spelled out in that notice for when you need to contact the city clerk to request a Board of Civil Authority hearing. And then once that hearing date is set, they will let you know when it is. You will show up, you will state your case. The city will also be there to state their case. The Board of Civil Authority, after they've had all of the hearings, they will meet. You will not know your result that night. They will send you a notice of, here's the result of your hearing. Again, if you agree with it, you're done. You don't have to do anything else. If you disagree, the third step is you have a choice of where you can either go to the state appraiser or you can request a court hearing. And I do know with the court hearing, there is a charge that goes with that, but off the top of my head, I don't remember what that is. And then you'll get that hearing date and the same thing happens. And then the result of that third step, that's where it's done. Whatever value comes up with, that is your value for the year. You cannot skip any process, any of the steps. If you do not submit a grievance with the first step to meet with the city, you cannot go to the Board of Civil Authority.
Okay, okay. So
And
that's
there will be, I should also add that there will be information about that on the website and also in the notice. So there'll be places to see what you need to do.
great, great. So so the important nuggets here, I think, are when someone gets their appraised value, they get the information in the mail, is to not set it aside on the counter to look at it some later date, but to open it, take a look at it, and make sure that they understand the value, and if there are any concerns, questions, that they should reach out to the number or the locations that'll be noted in the notice, and then to follow that process. And again, that wherever those land, that's where the tax bills will come, or their tax rate will be calculated based on the values when we go through this process.
Yes.
Okay. Fantastic. Let me just look and see what other questions I have. If people want more information or have additional questions, we have a couple of resources. So the main resource is going to be the website. So you can just go to southburlingtonvt.gov, or shorter, sbvt.gov. When you get to the home page, at the top, you should see departments. You can scroll down and go to the tax and assessors tab or section, and in there you'll see information all about tax and assessing. You can look up your current value, and you can also see a whole section on the reappraisal process and what's been going on. This video is going to live there, and then we'll share information out through the City News e-newsletter and through social media and Front Porch Forum as we move forward. One of the questions, Martha, we were asked in a public forum last night was, could we let folks know when the notices are sent out so that they have a trigger, because there have been some issues with the US mail lately. So wanting to know what to look for, and if they don't get it, how can they call and get get the information. So I encourage people to go to the website. We will, for that 14 days, we will put that information out on the website and through social media and Front Porch Forum to let folks know that they've been mailed. And ultimately, this information will end up on the website, correct, Martha?
Yes, it will. Right now, the current assessed values are out there, and once the notices go out, we will also upload to the website the new values. So people can go online once they realize that, okay, hey, notices have been sent. You don't have to wait for it to show up in the mail. You can go to the website and look up what your new value is and what your new property record card looks like.
Fantastic. Okay, is there anything that came to mind for you that I didn't ask or that we haven't covered that we could share?
The one important thing is, please, again, do not wait until you get your tax bill. You will have missed it for the next year. You'll have to wait a complete year before you grieve your value again. Please, when you get your new value, do look at your property record card. Do look, if you haven't been paying attention to sales, we do have a recent sales list also on the website under the assessor section. Look to see what things have been selling for, and if the new value that's been put on your property seems reasonable, whether it may be a little high or a little low, but if it's within the ballpark, then that's what we're looking for. A mass appraisal is not an exact science, and it's, here's an average, and reasonably, yes, this could be what you can sell your house for. And if that value does come in there, if there's no issues with any of the information on your property being incorrect, you really do not need to grieve.
Okay, great. So thanks, Martha, for your time this morning. And I'm going to wrap this up and we'll get it packaged and out to folks. And again, if anyone has questions, please do go to the website and there's contact information there. And folks are ready. You might get to talk to Martha or Todd in the office answering questions. We're happy to get you answers and help you through this process. So again, thanks, Martha. And I'll get this up for everyone.
Sure. And if we end up having people send in a few more questions, I'd be glad to do another one of these to put up on the website.
Fantastic. All right. Thanks, everybody.
Thank you.